Evening. Thank you guys for showing up to our District 1 candidate forum. We have 7 of the 8 candidates here. Rosanna Sanchez chose not to attend this evening. I'm Paul Myers. I'm editor of the Sun-Gazette newspaper. We're hosting this as well as the Valley Voice, and they're hosted by the Exeter Republican Women Federated. So we'd like to just begin with the flag salute from Betty. She's one of the young Republicans from Exeter High School. Sure. Flags this way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. So we'll begin with opening statements. Candidates will have a minute and 30 seconds to give their opening statements. They will have 30 seconds after their flash up their yellow card, and then red once those 30 seconds are done. I will be giving an introduction for each candidate. I'll give an introduction, they'll give their opening statement, so on and so forth. That'll be followed by 6 prepared questions from Sun-Gazette staff, with 1 submitted from the Exeter Republican Women Federated, and then that'll be followed by questions from the audience. On your seats you have the question cards, so those question cards you can fill out your question, but you can also use to take off if you want to ask the candidate a specific question. Also, you can text in questions with the number provided, or you guys can tweet in your questions using the hashtag TCD1Forum. Feel free to do that if you'd like. So to begin, Tyler Crocker. He is a 4th-generation farmer from Strathmore who has served as an alternate on the Tulare County Association of Governments. He has a bachelor's degree in public administration and works as an energy efficiency advisor for PG&E.
Thank you. Tyler Crocker, 5th-generation farmer, but that's okay. I farm in Strathmore, and as Paul said, I graduated from Strathmore High School. I went on to Fresno State, graduated with degrees in public administration and business, and I have been working at PG&E for the last 6 years, working with farmers and small business owners to help them reduce costs, and that has resulted in over $3 million in annual energy savings. Outside of work, I've been very involved in my community, sitting on the boards of the Strathmore Boys and Girls Club, the Strathmore High Alumni Association, the San Joaquin Power Employees Credit Union Executive Board, the Tulare County Association of Governments as Alan Ashida's alternate, as well as very involved at Neighborhood Church in Visalia. I think there's really 3 main issues that we're looking at here in Tulare County. The first is water, and making sure that we have enough water storage for our farms and clean, reliable water for our communities and families. The second is public safety and making sure that we have given the Sheriff's Department and the District Attorney's Office the proper tools necessary to eradicate gangs. We're under attack right now. We've seen that here in this community in Exeter very recently. I've seen it in Strathmore. We've seen it in Lindsay, all over the county. There aren't any communities that are safe. And we've got to make sure that we're making sure that we're helping them out. And lastly is jobs, and making sure that we have the proper infrastructure to make sure that businesses thrive. Thank you.
Next is John Elliott. John Elliott is a publisher and historian in Three Rivers who currently serves on the Tulare County Planning Commission. He is co-owner of the Kauai Commonwealth newspaper.
I want to start by thanking the Sun-Gazette and of course the Valley Boys for organizing this event tonight. I know as a journalist that access to information and free exchange of ideas makes for a more informed electorate. That's the best that democracy can be, and is what this nonpartisan election is all about. I stand here tonight as a candidate for supervisor because of three main things that define my career and life here in Tulare County. Number one, in 1988, I married Sarah Barton and three of us. We worked together as partners and were able to own our own business and experience our children as they grew into responsible, caring adults. I have owned and published for 21 years with my wife Sarah the Korea Commonwealth, an award-winning weekly newspaper that reflects the best of small-town America. My 11 years as a commissioner on the Tulare County Planning Commission has taught me above all fairness and the knowledge of how to make intelligent, informed decisions in the best interest of District 1 in Tulare County. These are the essential skills necessary to serve as supervisor. And, oh, by the way, you better like mixing and mingling with people, and I do. Thank you.
Next is Angel Galvez. Angel Galvez is a Tulare County native who lives just outside of Exeter. He has a master's degree in organizational leadership, leader study, and currently works for the mental health department of Tulare County Health and Human Services.
As my mother would say, hola y bienvenidos. My name is Angel Galvez. I do work with the Tulare County Health and Human Services Agency, Mental Health Branch. I currently live with my wife, my beautiful wife, my better half, in Exeter, in Merton Valley. We live on a 5-acre ranch. My educational career started at Fresno City College with a liberal studies degree. Then I went to Fresno State, received my bachelor's degree in criminology with an emphasis in victimology. I joined the World Society of Victimology under the leadership of Dr. John Paul Dusich, who gave me an opportunity to travel around the world and implement strategies to solve global issues. When we came back, we developed 2 nonprofits. I've served as president for Femicide Action Committee, which basically ensured the equal rights of women in the workforce and in academics. And I also developed another nonprofit, which is Elder Abuse Services, Inc. I served as president there for 2 years, and it ensured that the equal rights of elders was serviced in the areas of Fresno. That organization still exists today. I have a master's degree with honors from Fresno Pacific University in a blended program in Christian theology and organizational leadership. And I also believe that education is really the key to lead change in the right direction. So to me, education is very, very highly important, and I encourage that we all pursue those educational goals to solve solutions for our county. Thanks.
Next is Ted McCauley. Ted McCauley is a former mayor of Exeter and 3-term city councilman who has served on the Tulare County Association of Governments and the local area formation committee. He is an insurance agent for NSC Insurance.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out this evening. I'd like to start by thanking the Hillside Gazette, Valley Voice, and the Exeter Federated Women, Republican Women. I'm proud that my wife is one of those members. The Board of Supervisors is both the executive and legislative branch for the county. They will set budgets, they will make ordinances, they will approve resolutions, set budgets again. And they're in charge of salaries and wages and compensations. As a city council member for 12 years at Exeter, I'm familiar with all of those facets of the job. I have set budgets, negotiated with bargaining units. I served on the Exeter City Council, as Paul mentioned, for 12 years and 2 terms as mayor. I served on various committees, one of those being the Council of Cities. That organization was started up by the 8 incorporated cities to get a voice in the Tulare County General Plan in 2030. It was while I was on that committee that I saw the disconnect between the cities and the county. And one of the main things that I would work very hard on is to get the 2 to work together, both the cities and the county. I've been in sales for 38 years, so I understand that it's important to talk to your colleagues, to talk to all the interested parties to make sure that you come up with the correct decision for everyone. We all believe here public safety is of extreme importance, and tourism and I just got my red card. Thank you.
Next is Brian Pachegian. Brian Pachegian is a Tulare County native who lives in Visalia. He has a bachelor's degree and works in logistics for Caltex Transportation.
Thank you. My name is Brian Pachegian. I'm running for District 1 Supervisor. I'd like to begin by making you a promise. I promise to be an honest and concerned representative who will make a positive and significant impact on Tulare County and ensure it remains a great place for generations to come. I'm running for supervisor so that I may have a hand in securing a bright future for my family and yours here in this wonderful county. I have lived in other counties in California, but there's no other place where I would want to raise my family than here in Tulare County. I have always believed deeply about giving back to my community. And this is a trait that my family has instilled in me. This can be seen in my work in many community organizations because, again, I feel strongly about giving back to community that has given me so much. I was born and raised in Visalia, California. I attended Mount Whitney High School and graduated from San Diego State University, where I earned a bachelor's degree in social science with a minor in history. I then returned home and married Adrian Scaff of Exeter. Like me, my wife cares deeply about her community. She is currently a high school English teacher here in Exeter. I will be the county's #1 advocate in the fight for water because I know what it's like to have your livelihood dependent on it. I will work with the federal and state government to ensure that our farmers and residents get the water they so desperately need. I will also work with public safety departments to ensure they get the funding they need to protect all the residents of Tulare County. I believe it is imperative that we hire and retain highly qualified individuals in these departments, and I will work to approve funds to do just that. I will work as a fiscal conservative while preparing the budget because I know government should be held accountable for responsible spending. By voting for Brian Pachegian. All right.
Next is Vincent Salinas. Vincent Salinas is a former financial advisor who has served on the Visalia Chamber's Board of Directors and past president of Tulare King's Hispanic Chamber. He has 28 years of business development, financing, mortgage lending, community, and civic experience.
Well, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank the Assemblies of the Valley Boys and the Exeter Republican Women's Federation. My name is Vincent Salinas. I was born in Visalia. I was raised in Visalia and Porterville, where I got my education. I have 2 sons, 2 daughters, 4 grandchildren. I have a long professional career that included land use planning, business development, housing, financing, and mortgage lending. I'm actively involved in my community and also within the county. I'm a business consultant with Fresno State Small Business Development Center. I would like to thank the other candidates for listening to me and also reading my campaign material. Back in September 2015, when I filed my enhanced round for the Tulare County Board of Supervisors, I had my platform already set. The first thing was water. And I'm going to read this to you because it takes a long time for this. We must continue to work on implementing the Tulare Lake Water Basin Development Disadvantaged Community Water Study recommendations. Public safety. We need to maintain and retain our sheriffs, fire department, correction, and probation. Economic development. As the county expands its economic development, we must not lose sight of developing a better relationship with the counties so we can develop a more beneficial economic development in the community that benefit both the county and the cities. And fourthly, develop a stronger relationship with the elected officials in the district and in the county. Thank you.
Next is Dennis Smith. Dennis Smith is a private businessman who worked and co-owned National Builder Supply in Farmersville since he was 27 years old. He was elected to Tulare County Republican Central Committee in 2012.
Yeah, so when it comes to the issues that we're faced with, water being number one, obviously public safety is always the main issue for the citizens. But being elected to the Board of Supervisors, I would come at it from the standpoint of a constitutional conservative. Fiscally and money, yes, absolutely. When you run a business for 38 years, you go through the ups and the downs of the business cycles. So I have been able to make payroll every other week for 38 years, and that gives you a feel for being able to manage money and to have to pay the taxes on it. We implemented at National Builder Supply in 1983 a computer system. We were a little bit ahead of our time. I can remember the XT computers with a little 5 1/4 floppy disk with no memory, going to a 286, a 386, and yeah, I remember the fun days. We also instituted a profit sharing plan at National Builder Supply, so we have funded that since 1985. So I've had experience in managing, budgeting, and in taking care of customers. I think I'll be a strong advocate for the small business community, and that's the backbone of our country.
Thank you. We'll be moving into our prepared question format. Something I'd like to denote is that we have a screen here, so every time we have a question, the question will be displayed on the screen. If you guys can see it, it's great. If you do need me to repeat it, I have a problem with that as well. So to begin, you will have a minute to address the question, and then you'll be getting the same yellow card at 30 seconds and a red card after that. And then for any follow-up questions, you will be allotted 30 seconds to answer those. Question 1, how involved should the county be in the formation of groundwater sustainability agencies in the Quiesas Basin? To be specific, please. Kyler, please begin.
Kyler Crocker. So the county, with the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, the county is required to make sure that they coordinate with all interested parties. So that means irrigation districts as well. So legally, the county has to be involved. The question really is at what level. And we're seeing this in other counties throughout our region in the San Joaquin Valley that, you know, the county may not have the lead role as the entire implementer. And I think that I'm perfectly comfortable with leaving being at the table and yet not necessarily forcing the county's role position down the irrigation districts and cities district down their throat what the county needs. So we all need to work together and we need to have an equal foot at the table, but we don't need to be bullying everyone and pushing them around.
I think that the Groundwater Sustainable Management Act is going to be a really big, important issue for the county. And the way the county is going to play a role on this is, number one, they're going to be a stakeholder in one of the Korea Basin committees. They're looking at a possibility of actually being a stakeholder of more than one committee. But I think the key thing the county can do is lend its planning expertise in the way of staff to each of the committees. We're going to have to bring on a few more people to get this done and get these plans developed. That's what the county knows how to do, and that's what I'm going to advocate that we do.
Angel Galvez. The county should be heavily vested in ground sustainability water. And in the last meeting, in the last Tuesday meeting of the last month, our supervisor, Alan Ishida, had mentioned the meeting taking place. And the thing is, the question is not so much how involved they should be, is how transparent they should be. Because in the meeting, they mentioned that there's a meeting in May taking place with 3 water agencies. In 2014, the Ground Sustainability Management Act required that there be involvement by the local agencies to draft a plan. This plan is due next year. And the problem is that neither we know what are the agencies that are going to get together, nor do we know in what day are they going to meet in May. So the idea here is to collaboratively do this work with all of the agencies so that we draft a plan that meets the requirements of all Tulare County residents. Thank you.
I'm Ted McCauley. The county will have to be extremely involved in the Groundwater Sustainability Act. By law or by act, all areas within the county must be included in the groundwater sustainability plan. So there's a lot of areas that are what they call a white zone, which is areas that doesn't have a designated irrigation district, is not part of the cities. So the county is going to be asked on a lot of different levels to be involved with the Groundwater Sustainability Act and its implementation.
Brian Kochigan. The county needs to be involved. Legally, we have to be involved, and we need to be a voice for all the residents of Tulare County. That means in the unincorporated areas and in the city areas, we need to make sure everyone's voice is heard and everyone has a chance to be involved, to have input on this plan, because we're representing the people. If you don't take any information from the people or feedback from the people, then we're not going to be representing them adequately.
Notice I mentioned earlier about the Tulare Lake Water Basin Disadvantaged Community Water Study recommendation. That was approved by the county back in November of 2014, just before the Groundwater Sustainability Act was developed. The seventh recommendation of that study was paid by the California Water Resources Board that the county would work to have a sustainability groundwater regulation within the county. And so it's up to the county to start working with all these entities to develop a single regulation, so this way they're not jumping from one to the other and trying to figure out which is that they got to follow by the different entities in the community. Thank you.
Are you saying that the county should be a groundwater sustainability agency in and of itself, or?
They should be the lead agencies to develop with all the entities to have one single regulation. I understand that different areas have different types of situations, but the Sigma Act basically states you got to control what you pull out, you got to control what you put back in. So no matter what agency is running it, you got to regulate what you pull out and what you put back in. So that's why the county should take the lead, because they're also responsible for issuing permits for drilling new wells. Because it's going to be pretty well expensive. Thank you.
Dennis Smith. So the county needs to take the lead in the GSA. So what happened back in 2014 was, because the government created a crisis in the water delivery, we have enough water in California for everybody, everything. What we don't have is delivery to the people that need the water. And if the county does not take that lead with the process of protecting our private property rights to our water, then who's going to protect us? Because the state wrote that, the liberal politicians wrote that without putting any meat and bones on the 2014 Groundwater Sustainability Act. They have yet to define sustainable. At that point, the state can come in and say anything they want about sustainable. Well, you haven't increased it, that's not sustainable. You've decreased it, that's not sustainable. But we wouldn't be in this mess if they would deliver the surface water that they are contracted to deliver. So the county needs to fight for the people of Tulare County.
Dennis, when you say that the county needs to fight for the people of Tulare County in the form of water storage, is there any particular plan in order to do that, or relationship with the state that you'd like to use?
I didn't say that they need to fight for water storage. I said they need to fight for our property rights so that the state does not come in and dismantle our property rights, our water, our groundwater, from our property rights. So just know this, folks. They've already said they are not going to create any more groundwater or surface water. They have already said that they have determined it is much cheaper to pump water into the underground aquifers rather than move rocks or move dirt and create surface storage. So that's why they're developing this criteria to control the underground aquifers.
Okay, thank you. Question 2, we will begin with John Elliott this time. What do you think is an emerging industry in the valley, and what can we do to attract business in that industry? Also, this is in addition to agriculture.
Well, that emerging industry is tourism. All we have to do is look at Sequoia National Park. Already this year, the visitation is up 30%. We are not capturing the dollars of all those extra visitors. And we need improvements in the areas, especially in District 1, where the tourists first arrive and make contact. Otherwise, those folks drive right through the park and out the other side, and we get very little opportunity to capture any economic benefit. But that can be a huge stimulator and job creator for our economy.
Angel Galvez. So I oversee a capital facilities and technology budget. It's a multi-million-dollar budget with the county. And the emerging industry that we have is technology. We, in District 1, are a very large, geographically labor workforce farming industry. And we are having much less laborers, but more technology. And we need to lead the way with technology, and technology is in everything. Most of these candidates mentioned that earlier. And it is technology that's going to rule the future of what we do. So we need education and training to really have a new workforce developed here in the county to continue to grow our economy. But it's going to lead in that fashion. Thank you.
Ted McCauley. Probably the emerging industry that I could focus on would be the distribution industry. The county has been extremely successful in locating distribution businesses. They're also working right now on one for Nordstrom's. We're working with it against the county of Fresno, or excuse me, the city of Fresno, I believe is bidding on it. But we were able to do some wonderful things tax credit-wise for Nordstrom's to encourage them to locate here in Exeter, here in Tulare County. That's probably the one area that we are very successful with the UPS distribution center so close by also.
Brian Pachegan. Tourism is a big industry that I think we're not really taking full advantage of. Buses are coming in, buses are going out. We need these buses to stay here. They can frequent our restaurants, frequent our downtowns, and bring a lot of income into the cities. I think Tulare County is going to be open for all industries. You look at Los Angeles, Southern California, Northern California, they're running out of real estate. We have cost-effective real estate. I think we should be business-friendly, and as a county, we need to be business-friendly. That means expediting paperwork or trying to do whatever we can to promote business here. Thank you.
Brian, can you be a little bit more specific on exactly how you would go about promoting business here in Tulare County?
Well, promote
tourism.
For tourism especially, I think we need to actually promote it more. That means, I have people that come here that come visit me. They don't realize how close we are to Sequoia National Park. We need to work with the Chamber of Commerce, especially in Three Rivers, work hand in hand with them, and to promote all the sites that we have here. We have the downtown murals in Exeter, we have Sequoia National Park, we have great downtowns in our cities, and we need to promote what we have here so we can attract visitors and have them stay here to see what we have to offer.
Ag is our biggest industry in Tulare County. Ag is changing over to the digital age, and they're looking for professional people to come into the community to help implement the digital age in Tulare County. One of the things that we need in Tulare County is a 4-year university to attract professionals and not have a brain drain of Tulare County and have those people stay within our community. Thank you.
Dennis Smith. I don't know what's an emerging industry. We need to take advantage of what we have in our ag and our present businesses and allow them to function and flourish, and for the money and the wealth that's created by each of those independent businesses and farms needs to be left with we the people, so we the people are wealthy. What are you talking about? Games and video games and stuff like that? We need to take care of the people that are here now, that are providing jobs, that are creating wealth. And that's going to be an issue of, from the Board of Supervisors standpoint, fighting for our private property rights.
Kyler Crocker. So emerging industries, I think, in the valley that Tulare County can really benefit from is, one, the Nordstrom in North Visalia that, this has the opportunity to be at full build out, the #3 job creator, job provider in the county. 2,000 permanent jobs is a huge deal for Tulare County, and what that does is it shows other large businesses that have e-commerce centers that we're open for business. If Nordstrom comes in, it validates that we are business friendly and that we're ready to go. The other thing is in agriculture, There's a lot of irrigation technologies that are really booming right now. Jane Irrigation up in Fresno, others through the Center of Irrigation Technology at Fresno State. There's a lot of opportunities with water technology and irrigation specifically that's a niche market inside of agriculture that as we get more and more conservative with our water, that's something we can expose.
Moving on to our third question. How can you improve the relationships between cities and the county?
One of the things that I guess the county entrusts me with a lot of things, because that's another area that I oversee and represent, Tulare County Health and Human Services Agency, is ethnic services. With ethnic services, we as a county work with all of the communities in Tulare County. We serve every single person in the county. The Board of Supervisors' main goal is to ensure that quality services go into the communities. And this is something that I already do. It's something that I have managed for many years. We have to just treat people with dignity and respect and be equitable and inclusive to everything that we do. That's the way we're going to improve cities. That's the way we're going to improve communities. And that's the way we're going to see thriving communities flourish in Tulare County. Thank you.
How can we improve the relationship between the cities and the counties? Well, my experience on the 12 years on the Exeter City Council is that there's a real disconnect between the cities and the counties at this point right now. You know, they're not speaking to each other a lot of times, and that would be one of the things that I would work on with the other supervisors to hopefully get us to work a lot closer together. We've got a situation just here on the west side of town where the county allowed a home to be built right where the city of Exeter plans to build a road. That's going to cause some real consternation down the road, because either the city is going to have to buy the gentleman's house, or they're going to have to redesign their road so that it goes around this person's house. And it could have just been solved with just easy communication between the two parties.
And Ted, just a follow-up, do you think that is more of a bureaucratic problem to solve, or maybe a problem to solve at the board level? How would you go about solving issues such as that?
Well, I think that the Board of Supervisors the current board is open to that conversation from working with them while I was working with the Council of Cities. They understand where the cities were coming from and how we need to work better together.
Brian Pachegian. Communication. Communication is key between county and cities. City officials know what the city needs best. They need to communicate with the county, and also as a supervisor needs to communicate with the city so we understand there's a relationship there. Supervisors should be involved, showing up at city council meetings so they know what's going on in each city in their district. If you don't know what's going on in the district, you can't help the residents in the district. As your next supervisor, I plan to have communication with the residents and city officials so we can solve any problem that the county or residents need in the area. Thank you.
What I've suggested as I talked to the council members in my district is that the county is expanding its economic development department, and we should lay down some tax incentives for the cities to bring in new business communities, both in the industrial area, commercial area, retail area, and also residential, to provide tax incentives to the infill of the community. So this way you don't have vacant lots generating no revenues. This way it's going to be beneficial both to the city and to the county by those revenues being generated. That's how we begin to develop a relationship with the cities and with the county. Thank you.
So I have 15 acres. I live in rural Exeter. The first thing I'll tell you is the cities will not run the county. That's the problem that we've got now. We've got the urban areas in the Bay Area and Los Angeles trying to take water from us. You've got LA Power and Water going up to the Delta and buying islands up there to get water rights. LA Power and Water, of course, ruined Owens Valley by going up and buying up all the water rights. So the county supervisors need to represent the people of the county, all the county. But the cities don't start calling the shots. The cities have an advantage. The incorporated cities have a lot more ability to tax and raise revenue. And those of you that live in the city, you understand that. They get to charge you for all kinds of good stuff. Well, the county doesn't have that much flexibility. A general law county only has certain taxation things that they can do because there's a political subdivision of the state. So, the county needs to talk and listen, but not be controlled by the cities.
Kyler Crocker. So with the relationships between the county and the city, I can speak on my own experience. Working for PG&E, I've worked with the 4 different counties in the central southern San Joaquin Valley, if there is such a thing. Madera, Fresno, Kings, and Tulare counties. And out of those, there's 29 different cities, and I've been very active and involved with the California League of Cities, their South San Joaquin Division, and I've been able to work with each of the council members on various issues throughout that time period, as well as the counties. And I plan on bringing that same type of relationships and that same type of can-do attitude, and that we need to be proactive with them. There's a big difference when you're reactive and you wait for cities to contact you, but as a county supervisor, I think we need to make an effort to make sure that we're reaching out to them as well, and so we have a good, open dialogue.
Tyler, what does that entail necessarily being proactive? Do you plan on attending city council meetings or maybe meeting with mayors within District 1 on a weekly basis?
So there isn't a given formula as far as that goes, and I don't know that it's necessarily appropriate to attend city council meetings unless there's a given item that directly affects the county board. But what that means is that on a regular basis, I'm happy to contact city council members, staff members, and do status checks. How are things working out? Are we doing okay? Is there something we can improve upon? And that needs to be an ongoing basis. And for certain communities, that may be weekly. For other communities, it may be every 6 weeks or so.
Since the county of Tulare finished its general plan a couple years back, we've actually eliminated a lot of the inconsistencies between cities and the county, because most of that lies within the urban development boundaries in the county areas outside the cities. 4 cities right now already have MOUs, memorandums of understanding, that any development in the county area has to be done to that city's standards. As your supervisor, I'll make sure all the cities have that. And we've already directed planning staff and planning commission to seek the opinion and the input of every city on every project that goes before the county.
And we're moving on to question 4. A part of, I think, all of your platform is public safety. So we wanted to put in a question about that. What are your ideas for improving public safety in the unincorporated communities of Tulare County?
That's a great question. Well, one of the things, of course, would be to understand exactly how the cities and the counties, both their fire departments and their police departments, and how they work together. We have multiple mutual aid agreements that are in place now between the cities and the counties. Their public safety departments. So probably one of the ways that you would improve public safety is just work to get those public safety folks out in front of the residents. Let them know that the policemen are not their enemies, that they are people that are out there putting their lives on the line for us every day. Just as our fire department does. Fire department tends to kind of get shuffled to the side because everyone likes to talk about public safety and the sheriff's department and city police departments. But the fire department is extremely important to all of us. We sometimes don't think of them unless we have an emergency and we need a fireman or we need a paramedic to come by.
Brian Chegan. We need to work hand in hand with our public safety departments, especially our sheriff's department and the fire department. County fire only has 1 paid person per truck. Think about that, 1 paid person per truck to watch over the entire county. That can't keep going on. We need to change that. We also got to work with the underdeveloped communities, let them know that we're here to help them. Open communications. they're the first line of defense. When they see something wrong, they need to contact the correct departments, and we can come there and fix the problem. So communication is key with all these communities, and get on top of crime before it gets there, it becomes a problem. That's what I will do as your next supervisor. Thank you.
As I stated earlier, I had an opportunity to meet with the fire chief. We discussed the understaffing of the fire department. And he was stating that prior to his becoming the chief fire chief, that the former fire chief, Mr. Garcia, had a recommendation to the county how to improve the fire department. He recommended a business licensing fee. By recommending a business licensing fee, he could improve his staff on the fire trucks in Tulare County. But it would also be a great cost savings to the community, because once you improve the fire department, your insurance goes down. And based on reading the report, you would save an average of $15 a month on your fire insurance. So it's both beneficial to the fire department and to the residents of the community. Thank you.
So by unincorporated communities, obviously you're talking about the small tracts or smaller cities like Rosie and Woodville and that type of thing. Quite honestly, the job of the supervisor is to budget money and put policy in place. And just as honestly, the job of protecting those communities is really handed to Sheriff Boudreaux. And so our job would be to provide him the funding to be able to accomplish that what needs to be accomplished in a multitude of different areas in all of the unincorporated cities. Whether that's more sheriff's deputies in patrol cars, or whether that's the airplane up in the sky, whatever that is that the sheriff needs to be able to protect the citizens of the county, we just need to be able to figure out how to provide that for them.
Kyler Crocker. So I live in Strathmore, and what I have been able to do over the last few years is we've worked to start a Boys and Girls Club for Strathmore. And is that going to solve all of our public safety issues in Strathmore? Absolutely not. But I think that's the right step as far as making sure that our youth have additional opportunities to get off the streets, to do something that's productive, where they have great mentors, where they're able to learn great life skills to make them productive citizens of our county. In addition to programs like that, I think there's a great opportunity to meet with our faith-based organizations and churches throughout our communities, to really partner with them to try and make sure that they are filling in the gaps where the county can't. The county can only do so much, and I think that we need to make sure that we're leveraging our other NGOs, non-governmental organizations throughout the county to help us solve this issue.
I'm going to speak briefly on the fire because I live in one of the most fire-prone areas in Three Rivers. We're already paying $125 a year as an assessment on each occupied dwelling in the town. We don't need another tax. We have excellent fire coverage with the one guy on the truck because we have one of the finest volunteer fire departments anywhere. But I will say that the amount of our budget, our county budget that's devoted to fire, is one of the lowest also in California, so we need to look at that. As far as police goes, Sheriff Boudreaux told me we're going to hire between 80 and 200 new personnel in the next 4 years. We got to find the money for that. We're not going to find that in the existing county budget. We got to look outside the county. And I'm the person who will go out there and get that money to protect our people here in Tulare County.
Let me help all these guys out because I kind of see the audience, everybody's falling asleep. For improving public safety, I took it upon myself to do recent ride-alongs with the local police departments. Now let me tell you, all these officers in all of these districts, when we responded to calls, there's three main themes: mental health, suicide, and alcohol and other drugs-related crimes. Safety is a key concern for a lot of these officers because they deal with it day in, day out. In my ride-alongs when we're doing this, I learned that right now, the Assembly Bill 109, we have Prop 47, which is choking us because Prop 47 is for the non-violent low offenders. And these people are out in the streets causing all of this damage and causing officer morale to be low. And the prisons that we have, the county right now has $100 million building 2 new prisons. In South County, which is about 60% of that money, North County, that plan is in development right now. That's going to offer a lot of good jobs, and it's going to keep our officers, sorry, running out of time.
Moving on to our 5th question. What department do you think deserves the most attention from the board aside from public safety? And please be specific.
Well, I think the most important department would probably be, besides public safety, basically our county utilities, because we got to provide services for all the residents of Tulare County. We got to make sure all parts of Tulare County has accessibility to these utilities, and that's very important. Water, electricity, sewage, these aren't privileges. These are something that all the residents of Tulare County deserve. So I think that's the most important department. Thank you.
Besides public safety is our parks. During the Great Recession, when people couldn't travel out of the area, we relied to use our own home facilities, so this way we can utilize those recreational activities in that community. So parks would be the number one item besides public safety department that I will basically work on and to make sure that all our parks are up to par, both with water, improvements, and facilities.
Actually, I forgot to say, I don't believe that we're streaming this, so there's no reason to say your name before you begin. Are we streaming? Oh, we're actually, so sorry, nobody relayed that to me, so please continue to do that.
Dennis Smith. Look out, Angel, here I come. The largest chunk of budget for the Tulare County budget, we have a $1.2 billion budget. We have $425 million that goes into the welfare, health, and mental health department. That department was combined out of 3 departments back in the 90s. That department is nearly fully funded by federal monies. So $425 million in that budget, $408 million is coming from outside the county. I would definitely look at breaking those back into 3 different departments, making them more manageable, and then going through and checking each of the budgets in the different departments for a zero-based budgeting. Why can't we get to a zero-based budgeting in government? We do in business.
Actually, Dennis, I have a follow-up question for you. Are there any potential effects that might happen of breaking up that department into 3 separate departments as they originally were that you might foresee? Outside of budgetarily?
The effects of it, as in it's working more efficiently now than it did then? Is that your question?
No, my question is, so if you break up this department into the 3 separate departments that they once were, what effect do you think that would have on the county?
I believe we can still provide all the services that we need to provide, and I believe that they would have the money to do that. I also believe by breaking them up, they would become more manageable. I want a government that's transparent. I want a government that's manageable so that our elected representatives are able to properly manage the government. That's a problem we have in our state government. The bureaucracies are out of control. That's a problem we have in our federal government. For crying out loud, a Republican Congress can't even rein in EPA that's trying to implement waters of the U.S. to control every drop of surface water in the country. Those are not navigable waters. Thank you.
Kyler Crocker. So being a farmer, I think the Department of Agriculture needs a lot of serious attention, and it's not necessarily because they're doing an inadequate job. The fact is that California and Tulare County is particular is the heart of the citrus industry. It's over a $600 million industry for Tulare County, and we are under attack by the Asian citrus psyllid and the virus that it carries, Wang Long Bing. Wang Long Bing has devastated Florida's citrus industry. They've lost almost 80% of their citrus production over the last decade. If that happens to Tulare County, I mean, you think the drought's bad? I mean, you couple that with ACP and what HLB can do, and it's devastating. So we need to make sure that we have inspectors out that are monitoring the situation, that are holding growers accountable, that have the symptoms of HLB, and that we're being proactive with that.
John Elliott. The inspection thing on the water is so critical, I can't tell you. And we have to beef that up right now because SB 88 has mandated that we clean up our act in terms of servicing rural communities with water and small community rural associations. If we don't provide the inspections, then the state will. And that's the last thing we want, because that's going to cost more. And there'll be a breakdown and loss of data in terms of being able to deal with the problems. So really, essentially, what we got to do is make sure the cities have the infrastructure ready to tie into the smaller communities, and the smaller communities have to have the plumbing to receive these tie-ins.
Angel Galvez. I know for a fact that aside from public safety is health. Health is critical. 50% in Tulare County suffer from diabetes. 1 in 5 individuals suffer from a mental health diagnosable disorder. 22 veterans die each day by suicide. Health is extremely important aside from public safety. And that is something that I'm already on the front lines, working with our Suicide Prevention Task Force. It's prevention and early intervention programs, educating our community, letting them know where all these services are at. I talked to a young lady here in Exeter who owns a business who can't even afford her health insurance. She can't manage it because she has 3 children. She's figuring out how to really pay for health insurance to take care of her own health. It's health, people. Thank you.
Ted McCauley, those are all great answers. But the one thing that I'd be willing to bet the whole room here, the first thing that you're going to bring up to me when I'm a supervisor is, what about my roads? You know, all of these things are great, but we need roads. As Mr. Carter points out, agriculture, huge. Agriculture is king. We need to make sure that we've got the roads for those farmers to be able to get their products from farm to the table. So roads is something that definitely needs attention, and we can't ignore those, because without the roads, no one gets anywhere.
Okay. Our last prepared question actually comes from the Ex-Republican Women Federated. What influence can you assert as a board supervisor in using Measure R funds for railroad right-of-ways in the county? Let's start with you,
You know, I believe that there was a plan developed for the rail right-of-way and what the maximum uses that we would get from it and the funds that would be needed to implement it. I haven't had an opportunity to review the plan, and so I do have an opportunity. I could probably give you a better answer. Right now, I would work to improve it, especially when we're talking about creating a rail system from Huron, a passenger rail system from Huron all the way to Porterville. So that would be a great importance for that section of the rail tracks to be improved. Thank you.
Dennis Smith. None. Fix the roads. When we had the chance to vote on Measure R in 2006, because the state came in and took our road use funds from the counties, and then got trotted out, well, let's tax ourselves to replace what the state took from us, instead of the counties and the Board of Supervisors getting together and going up there and telling the state, we ain't gonna go for this. We need to fix our roads. Measure R got voted in, and you know, I'm sure, 14% of the Measure R funds have to go to bike paths and bike lanes and stuff like that. So right off the top, we vote in a new tax on us, and 14% we lose to things that are not transportation, automobile, truck, delivering products and goods and services, and we need to spend that on the roads. Fix the darn roads.
Kyler Crocker. So as a board of supervisors, or a supervisor on the board, I think the what you can do is working with the oversight committee to try and make amendments if that's what we're looking at, if the proper allocation isn't sufficient for right-of-way acquisition. But I think the real question is whether or not we want to do that and if there's a need. And I don't see that there's a need. By the shaking of people's heads and talking with people and driving roads, roads is obviously the primary focus of what Measure R was made. We've got tons of roads that need additional work. We've made great progress on Highway 99 and other areas, but that progress can't stop now. We've made great strides and we need to continue doing that.
John Elliott. One of the main things a supervisor should have is vision. And one of the things I see in vision for Tulare County is to use these right-of-ways for trails that help us want to get outside, get out of our cars, and become healthier individuals. And I'm not just saying that because I can run a half marathon or a marathon. I'm saying that because we do have a big problem with people not exercising and being healthy. Right-of-ways can be the key to that. And I know it sounds a little bit outside the box, but that's what we need to think for the future of Tulare County.
Angel Galvez. So let me answer the question very directly because I think we've been dancing around this question too much. What influence can you assert as a board of supervisor in using Measure R funds for railroad right-of-ways? That's what it's about, railroad right-of-ways. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have all the answers. I'll be the first to admit. But what I do know is that I know how to engage stakeholders so that those stakeholders can give us the answers. Railroads are all throughout Tulare County. There are unincorporated areas and then there's cities. And the key here is not necessarily how will we influence it, but rather how will we do a process that is equitable where it's including the people, and the people that know are the people from those communities where the railroads are at. So I would just continue to do what I do already for the county, is a stakeholder process so that we develop strategies to really solve these issues. Thank you.
Ted McCauley. The influence that I could assert to the Board of Supervisors is I actually worked for the Southern Pacific Railroad for 13 and a half years, and the railroad was what got me up to Tulare County. So I have a very thorough understanding of the railroads, what kind of things can work and what kind of things might not work. And so what I would do, more than try to influence them, would be to educate the Board of Supervisors on some of the things that I have learned over the 13 and a half years that I spent with the railroad. Railroad right-of-ways, they are funded in Measure R, so we can't take the money and allocate it somewhere else. So let's use all the knowledge between the current Board of Supervisors, and I'd be more than happy to share that my knowledge with them. I understand that our current supervisor, Alan Ishida, does serve on the rail committee, so it would only be appropriate that I would take his place. Thank you very much.
Brian Pachegan. We need to divert money not from railroad right-of-ways, but we need to divert money to fixing the Lindsay Highway. Right now, there's no money allocated to fixing the Lindsay Highway, and it's in abysmal shape. That's what we need to fix. We need to fix our roads. Roads bring tourists in. Roads keep people coming here to Tulare County. I don't want to see any money in Measure R going towards railroads. I'd rather see it all go into fixing the roads and making it more accessible to all individuals who come here to Tulare County. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. That actually ends the prepared question format. Moving on to the audience questions. Valley Voices, Nancy Biden will be posing those. I believe that we have a couple that are directed towards specific candidates. After that candidate answers his minute, then the other candidates can join in as well if they want to respond. And then after that, we'll move 4 other other questions that are very general, we'll just go down the line.
If anyone else has any other questions, please bring them forward. Otherwise, we will start with the two candidate-specific questions. We will welcome any of the rest of you to answer those if you so desire. This one is aimed at Mr. McCauley. Do you have an opinion regarding a rest stop in Three Rivers, and will you promote such a rest stop?
Ted McCauley. I think a rest stop in Three Rivers would be a wonderful addition to the community. I understand from talking to some of the folks up in Three Rivers that they don't even have dependable daily or semi-daily or days of the week coverage of the buses that come up to Three Rivers. So I would be all in favor of working to work with the community to come up with where that location should be for the rest stop. It would also help people if they wanted to get off in Three Rivers and hopefully do some shopping and then hop back onto that bus and head up into the national park and vice versa coming down.
Okay. Would anyone else like to comment on that? Probably Mr. Elliott.
Sure, I'd like to jump on that one. We did try a rest stop project in Three Rivers when we had the land acquired, but well, it was earmarked, and we applied for a federal grant, and we could not apply it to land that was privately owned at that time. We had a heck of a time negotiating with Caltrans, but I can tell you from talking and living and covering the people of Three Rivers, the number one issue is we need a rest stop where tourists and visitors can use the restroom.
Would anyone else like to comment on that? Okay. And this question is directed at Mr. Smith. Do you advocate letting property owners sell their groundwater to other agencies out of the county?
Absolutely not. That groundwater is for the beneficial use of that property. Once you start selling that water, and be careful, this is what's coming because you have corporate entities that are going all over not just the state, not just the United States, all over the world buying up water rights. So you have big corporations buying up water rights that are going to hurt us. No, that's a simple question.
Okay. And does anyone else want to comment?
I agree with Mr. Smith also. No selling water, as it does belong to all of us at some point.
Go ahead.
I was taught in school to raise your hand when you want to speak, so you said Angel, but Mr. Salinas answered, so that's okay. I live in a 5-acre ranch. I also own a private well, and I agree that the water that we have, we need to use it very wisely. And selling that water is, of course, more of a money issue because it's either for private gain or any of that. But I agree, we need to really look at this big picture, innovative solutions that are going to work, because we wouldn't be in this situation about who's selling water or who's pumping 1,500 deep and taking that water from a city to another city to use it for their farms. That's wrong. We need to really watch what we're doing, and we all need to pitch in. Thanks.
Okay, anyone else with? Okay, a couple more have come in for individuals, so we'll take it that way. Mr. Crocker, your position is to get more jobs in Tulare County, and yet, per this commenter, I don't have any verification on this, the mailer you sent out came from Fresno. Why? Or did it indeed do that?
So yes, the mailer did come from Fresno, and I've worked with people who I know that have a proven track record. My campaign finances are not unlimited, and so I need to be as efficient as possible. And just as I want to be efficient with the finances of the taxpayers of Tulare County. And so I think with that, every time that I have an opportunity that we can utilize local dollars, that's what I've been doing. In other circumstances, it doesn't always work out. I think that you'll find with most of the candidates here, the signs are very rarely purchased locally, and I'm proud to say that I did purchase my signs out of Tulare County.
Okay, does anyone else want to comment on that? Mr. McCullough?
I'm very proud to say that all of my signs, all my literature, my banners, everything has all been purchased within District 1.
He's supporting District 1 and the county, okay. And yet I have another individual question. Mr. Salinas, do you believe that the burden of additional fire safety costs should be added only to local business tax, as you previously stated, rather than all county residents who equally benefit?
The reason why I'm implementing a business license tax is because the majority of the county's fire department are servicing the businesses. They have to go in there and inspect them, code inspection and so forth. So right now, the fire department services them more than anybody else in the rural area. So by selecting a business license fee, this way they'll help pay for that staffing. But at the same time, the entire unincorporated area will benefit by a reduction in their fire insurance. So in my opinion, it's a win-win because even that business owner is going to save from his fire insurance.
Okay, thank you.
Brian Pacheco. I don't think we need to put any more unnecessary taxes on our small business owners. They're the ones that are creating the most jobs here, and we don't need to be taxing them. We need to be as business friendly as possible. The more business friendly we can be, the more industries we can attract. And as your next supervisor, try to be as business friendly as possible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this one, oh, go ahead.
I'd like to add a little bit something on that. I know that in Three Rivers, if you're not grandfathered into your insurance policy now, it's very difficult to find a new one. So I really would question whether that tax is going to save us on our fire insurance. I think the problem is we need to make our environment up there much safer. A lot of that takes cooperation between the agencies, clear dead, and to have a program that makes those forests more manageable.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to one general question now. And everybody's answered everything seemingly, so we'll just start at the beginning and get Mr. Crocker with you down at the end. In one word or a few, what is the most important quality of a supervisor? And in a few words, how do you fit that qualification?
Servant leadership. I think how I fit that category is how I've served the community that I lived in for my whole life. And that's been being involved with the Strathmore High Alumni Association, with Strathmore Boys and Girls Club. I'm involved with the San Joaquin Power Employees Credit Union, which is a credit union of over 6,100 members with 131 million in assets. We gave out the 4th highest dividend in the country a few years ago, and we were ranked 74th best credit union out of over 6,500 credit unions 2 years ago as well. And I think that's a testament to what I've been able to do as far as serving the members and how I'm going to serve the taxpayers of Tulare County to make sure that we're being effective and efficient with the resources that we have.
Thank you.
I think it's knowledge and vision. And in the last 21 years working on this newspaper week in, week out, I've certainly been able to research and study nearly every issue under the sun. And I can tell you, I don't know the answers to all questions, but I do know where to find those answers. So with that knowledge, you can translate that to vision on what's needed for the future of this county. And that's the best thing a supervisor can be.
Angel Galvez. I have a few words, but I just need to share this very little bit with you. My father is 65 and he's been breaking his back in the fields all his life. And he's very proud of it. It's an honest, earnest living. And that's what it is. It's just being honest. Be fair, be honest, ethical. Be ethical in what you do. That is going to get us somewhere. If you don't have an integrity, nothing else matters. Those are really the words that should speak loudly in a leader. And a leader, I could talk leadership all day long because I'm mastered in it, but those are the three words that I think are leaders in every place, in churches, in schools, board of supervisors, community organizations. I see that lack very much. Ethics, moral behavior, integrity. Those are the ones.
I guess I would probably pick experience and community involvement. Experience, I've got the 12 years on the Exeter City Council that I bring to the Board of Supervisors if I was to be elected. So I've got a thorough understanding of how their job works. And community service, I served as mayor and on the Exeter City Council for 12 years and serving as a city council member for $45 a month. It surely wasn't for the money. But I felt it was some way that I could give back to the community. I had actually just gotten done being president of the Exeter Lions Club when I was approached about joining the campaign for city council. I took that on because I felt so strongly about community service, and I felt that was a great way to be able to give back to my community. And I would love the opportunity to do the same on a county-wide level, while we here in District 1. Thank you.
Brian Michigan, honesty, dedication, and accessibility. As a supervisor, you need to be honest. I'm honest. Your constituents need to be able to trust you and know you're telling them the truth at all times. Dedication. You gotta work hard in everything you do. And this is a model I've used my whole life. Work hard, good things happen. Anything I do, I go 100% at. And last, accessibility. Your constituents and residents of Tulare County need to be able to be accessible to get to you. You know what the problems and concerns are, and as your next supervisor, I will be as accessible as possible. Thank you.
You know, I'm a JC member, Junior Chamber of Commerce, and in our JC training, one thing that stands out the most is that service to humanity is the best work of life. And that's what I hear in my life by volunteering, providing service, communicating, and that's what I believe, that service to humanity is the best work of life. Thank you.
Well, being a small business owner, working 10 to 12 hours a day, every day for 38 years, you tend to be able to know how to put the hours in, get the job done. Within that, I'm also a prolific reader, and I study the issues and like to find out why it is we're in the mess that we're in. And so, as a supervisor, I have a great team of guys to pull from for specific areas of information here. And I will tell you that I do have that work ethic to put in the time and energy it takes to get the job done.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, I have yet another individual question. Addressed to Mr. Galvez. Should the water problem be addressed before the county takes on a major project like the potential city in Yoko Valley?
The water, I stated before in the public forum that economic development, I'm pro for economic development. The Yoko Valley already owns water rights, so they have rights to the water to get this project undergoing. But I believe that we need to focus on the plan, and the plan has yet to be delivered. They are requiring us, the Department of Water Services at the state is requiring us to have this plan in effect by 2017 in March. And I've worked on plans and development of plans, and they take a long time. And what's gonna happen is that they're gonna just slap something together send it over to the state, and it's not going to be beneficial to all of our communities, which is going to impact these large-scale economic development like Yoko Valley. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to comment on that?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I had said earlier that Boswell had water rights for Yoko Valley and developing that, so I went up and talked to Phil at Terminus Dam, Phil Dinnebaum, and asked Phil how much water Boswell owned in Cahuilla Lake, and he told me, Dennis, they don't own any water in Cahuilla Lake. And he said, now that's not the whole story though. Now, as we get into this, folks, you can't do all of these subjects in sound bites, so if you want to talk afterwards, I'm happy to talk about it. But they do own, Boswell does own some water rights in the sense that they have stock in Corporate Water Company. So some of the water that comes out of Cahuilla goes to Corporate Water Company, and Boswell owns some of that. What Boswell does have is the ability to do water transfer because of what they own through Kings River. So the water up there could be taken care of, I can't say for sure, but could be supposedly taken care of by what they have the ability to transfer from this location to that location.
Okay, anyone else? Mr. McCullough?
Yes, please. When I served on the LAFCO board, every time there was city or a municipal district asked for an annexation, one of the chief questions that was asked every single time was, where are you going to get the water? And we can't make plans if we don't have that accessibility, and not just the accessibility, but the ability to serve whatever you're going to do from a building standpoint or even from a farming standpoint. You need to make sure that you've got the water available, and I've seen that in the past with LAFCO board.
Mr. Elliott, and then Mr. Salinas.
I can tell you from the planning commission standpoint that they are waiting to see what's going on with the water in Yoko Valley. And they're waiting on this Sustainable Groundwater Management Act like we all are. So there won't be much movement until after 2020. And at that time, if they do come back, the first thing that they'll present to the county is a water feasibility study. And the second thing they'll present is a much scaled down project. It won't be a city of 50,000, I can assure you.
Mr. Salinas?
Yes, I served 11 years on the Visalia Planning Commission. And during our last drought in 2006, every time a development came into the city of Visalia, I went to the Planning Commission. And my first question was always, is there available water for that development? If they said no, then I would vote no to approve it. If they said yes, then I would vote yes to approve it. Thank you.
Okay, this one is directed at everyone, so let's start with you, Mr. Pachigi. As an employee of HHSA, I was given a $300,000 budget to promote the food stamp program for client retention. Do you feel this was responsible or irresponsible use of county budget monies?
Well, I can't really answer that question until I see what that money was used for in entirety. I will state this. The best person to tell you what's going on with every department is the department head. They know what's working in their departments, and they know what's not working. They know where the waste is, and they know what's not wasteful. I don't know what exactly all that money went to, so I can't really answer that question.
The question specifically says to promote the food stamp.
No, that's, I think it's a waste of money. People know where they can get food stamps from. We don't need to spend $300,000 to tell them this is the path to go get it. So I think that is a definite waste of money.
Would anyone else like to respond to that? Mr. Salinas, and then Mr. Galvez.
Yes, it's a waste of money. Thank you.
That was simple put. Mr. Galvez.
So I work with the Health and Human Services Agency, and I would disagree with my pony candidates on that it's a waste of money. Yes, we do need to be fiscally responsible when we're making decisions. They need to be sound, they need to be based on all the facts. But Tim Lutz, who's the Director of Fiscal Operations at the agency, You know, he's a very knowledgeable man. We need these dollars. Farmers need these dollars because if you look at food stamps and the way food stamps works, the money that is spent locally with local farmers with these dollars really stimulates the economy in a sense. If you cut that, you cut every dollar from there on out to the table of that very farmer, our local farmers, and they don't receive it on their end. So it's an inflation process where they spend for every dollar that they get some of that money back. So it's really giving it back. Can we manage it better? Absolutely, and we will.
Okay, anyone else? See who's out there.
Kyler Crocker. So as a farmer, if we're getting benefit from food stamps, I'd love to sign up for that because our margins are very slim and many years we're not making any money. So I think the question for this is really a matter of, was this earmarked dollars or was this discretionary general fund dollars? If it's general fund dollars, then we have tons of other higher priority issues that we need to focus on. We've talked about that. Sheriff's Department, District Attorney's Office, roads, parks, etc., code enforcement. We haven't even talked about code enforcement. There's lots of different areas that we can focus on. If it was already earmarked money from the federal government, then it was a bad choice by the feds. But if they're giving out money, I say that we need to get as much money back that we've already put into the coffers in Washington and Sacramento, and we can be much better stewards of our own dollars than they can.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Crocker. Did you want to respond,
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Did I understand the question to the promoted food stamps? It's like
Promote food
$300,000.
stamp program for client retention.
Okay, well, if that money was spent in newspapers, it might have been well spent. But I can tell you that there's better ways to spend that money, and if we can do that through something like the workforce program, where we subsidize a business to hire someone who needs a job, who might otherwise have to be on welfare, then I say there's a better way to spend that money.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Smith.
So we all know that all federal dollars come with strings attached. There's the problem, the strings that are attached. Did I hear the word client retention?
Yes.
Keeping people on food stamps, keeping people on welfare? I think I got a problem here.
Okay, this one is addressed to everyone, and we, time permitting, this probably is our last question. So we can start with Oh, okay. So let's start with Mr. McCulley on this one. A marijuana ballot initiative looks like it will make the November ballot. The initiative received 600,000 signatures, of which it required 375,000. The measure would allow possession of 1 ounce of marijuana and cultivation of 6 marijuana plants for adults 21 and older. This initiative would also place a 15% tax on retail sales of the drug. The new law will let each county decide for themselves. Do you support or block this initiative?
Wow, that's a loaded question. You all got that very good. Marijuana cultivation and marijuana sales is a really tricky subject. Marijuana is still federally illegal. It's statewide, it is illegal unless you have a medical marijuana card. I've talked to some doctors who say that the active ingredient in marijuana, the THC I think it is there's much better ways to get that into the body than either put it in whatever they call it. But I think I would probably be leaning towards blocking it just because there's too many problems with the current laws that they have right now. Colorado and Washington have both approved it, and they are having emergency room visits like they've never seen before.
Okay, thank you. We'll just go down the line. So we'll go to Mr. Pachikian. We'll get back to you, Mr. Smith.
Well, that's a tough question. Obviously, the tax revenue would create a very positive thing for the county. But, I mean, how do you enforce it? There's a lot of different issues that go in there, especially 6 plant cultivations per household. the amount of water that goes into cultivation of marijuana is extreme, and it's such a drought issue right now. It'd be very hard to allow that kind of water consumption in the county. We'd be using water for many other things. So, tough question. We have to look at all the different reports. I'd probably be leaning towards the no side as of now. I would have to look at all the available information. The only benefit I see to it is the tax revenue, and is that something that we need to, basically, is that benefit overweigh all the negatives to it? So, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Salinas?
There's a whole bunch of lists for gas and oil and so forth.
Can you please put the microphone
Oh.
closer? Thank you.
Vincent Salinas. For record. There's a whole list of pro and con of whether it should be legalized. I believe that we have enough drugs, we have enough other items that a person can relax, drink, or whatever. We don't need another drug on the market just for recreational uses. So I would lean towards blocking it and letting it happen.
So every law that gets passed does two things. Creates a bureaucracy and causes unintended consequences. So what you would develop here in approving it is, I can tell you, you would increase costs for our public service, like Sheriff Woodrow. He's going to have increased costs. Now, enforcing this detail of law, enforcing that detail of law, did you have 6 plants, or did you have 6 1/3? It's got this one growing down here. And so, if that's what you want to do in the privacy of your home, don't tell anybody. Just do it. But when it becomes a public policy, then you have to pay for all the services and the support that goes with it. So I would oppose it.
Okay, down at the other end, Mr. Crocker?
Kyler Crocker. So I would be opposed to, and I will vote no on this initiative in November. And there's a lot of different issues. We've seen this already with medical marijuana. We started out and we said that you can have 99 plants in your own home and you can do certain things, but some of our neighbors were murdered because rival gang members were going after and trying to steal each other's marijuana. And so now we want to do this on a statewide issue. The gang activity is only going to increase. It's not going to decrease. You're going to give additional methods for the cartels and the thugs to raise dollars and to support all of their efforts. And so I can't support this initiative.
I think we have to take a more wait-and-see approach on this, and I'll tell you why. Number one, we need to get marijuana growing off the public lands. The expense and the cost of what it's doing to our national parks is just unthinkable. Also, that we have a law enforcement problem right now. And the budget that's going to lock up people for marijuana now, it's preposterous. All these people are the criminals that are being sent back to Tulare County to be housed here at our expense. We have to be really careful how we proceed in this. Just today, the federal prosecutor dropped charges against the largest marijuana dispensary in the country. The federal government is moving toward legalization. That will happen in the next 4 years. So we need to be prepared. What are we going to do when that happens?
Angel Galvez. I was going to say what I was going to say. As if anybody's going to inject anything, they just need to inject some Holy Spirit and it'll solve all these problems. But of course, my position, of course, is no, absolutely not. I just spent hours and hours with Commander Sabino up in Tulare River fighting the illegal marijuana infestation that they had there. There's a gentleman here who's a supporter of mine, Mr. Scott. He's a chemist by trade, and this stuff not only takes a whole bunch of water, but it also poisons our very dirt, our lands, the lands we love. So absolutely not. We have more control as people with these measures that the state government does. And that's really the key here, is we come together and we unite, we will win every single battle, because we don't realize how much power we have when we unite as people, and that's really what it's about. Vote no. My position is very firm, absolutely not.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Keeping up with water here. Do you or do you not support temperance dam? Let's start with Mr. Pacheco.
I support anything that's going to get water here for our farmers and residents. So yes, I support temperance dam. That means that we're going to get more water coming in here for all the residents and farmers of Tulare County. We do whatever we can to make sure we have water coming in, especially for our farmers. Because the second farmers lose water, agriculture's gone, which is the backbone of our economy, and we're going to be in dire strait. So yes, I would vote yes for temperance dam and support it.
Yes, I would support temperance dam. I started off in 2006 on my last route and worked with Mario Santoyo with the Bryant Water Authority. We created the Latino Water Coalition that brought together 7,000 farm workers and farmers to march from Delano to St. Louis Reservoir to let the world know that we need surface storage water. We then worked on a bond measure for 2010, and it was delayed because of the Great Recession. So that bond measure got reduced down from 11 billion to 8 billion, and it was voted in November of 2014. The Tulare County Board of Supervisors are working with the other counties to create an entity to receive funds to begin the development of temperance plan, and I'll continue that support.
Short answer, yes, absolutely. I asked Devin Nunes face-to-face a couple of years ago whether Temperance Flat was going to be built. Devin said, no, it'll never be built. And the reason I was asking that was a build-up to Prop 1. And I told him, Congressman, I have a real problem with this Prop 1 because I'm seeing 2/3 of the money go to conservation stuff and buying up property and taking it off the tax rolls, and maybe 1/3 go to water storage and stuff. And that's why I asked him that. He said it'll never get built. So the problem is spending money on other stuff instead of spending money on that. Now you're all aware, aren't you, that they just spent $810 million out of that Prop 1 money to rebuild the Calaveras Dam, which is in the East Bay. And you're also aware that they're using Prop 1 money to help take down those 4 dams on the Klamath River. There's your Prop 1 money going for you. Sure helped us a lot.
Mr. Farmer?
Kyler Crocker. I absolutely support the building of Temperance Flat Dam. Tulare County receives 50% of the water that comes out of Millerton Lake via the Frank Kern Canal. I'm proud to have this support and endorsement of California Water Commission member Joe Del Bosque, Executive Director of the California Latino Water Coalition, Mario Santoyo, and Chairman of the Bryant Water Authority, Eric Borba. And in addition, I'd like to take another step forward, that in addition to supporting Temperance Flat, I support the initiative that California Water Alliance is pushing forward that will take money away from high-speed rail and move it to water storage projects throughout the state. And that's what we need to do to get additional surface storage water.
It's a no-brainer if you're from Tulare County to support the Temperance Flat project. But I can tell you, in order to make it a reality, 4 other county partners have to put in funds with Tulare County. We're the only county that has our share. So while we wait around to get the match, the Federal Bureau of Reclamation is strictly opposing this and predicts that it will take us 20 years to build that project. So if you want to get that project done, like we all seem to want to, then we need to get the other counties to pony up and pay their share.
Angel Galvez. Keep forgetting to say my name. Of course, I think like all of us, the common thing, we do definitely support Temperance Flat. I also published the Tulare County Reservoir Beaver Project because it circumvents some of the issues that Temperance Flat ran into. And the thing with politics and politicians, I mean, they're all more crooked than a barrel of snakes. And that's the problem, is that they're special interest groups and they have to protect certain interests, and then that causes the real problem. I partner with people just like Mr. Scott, who's a chemist who understands pathogens really well, and he publishes a lot of articles, and I come together with people because that's what it's going to take for us to just come together to solve the issues we're having and the projects that are not taking place. So yes, I'm in support of that, or I'm in support of my own project. Either or, we need the surface water, we need the groundwater, and we need to do all our part too with our own water conservation methods. Thanks.
Yes, definitely we should build Temperance Flat. The problem, of course, being the cost. Where are we going to come up with $3 billion to build Temperance Flat? The money's not there. Tulare County is in partnership with Fresno, Kings, Madera, and Merced counties in a JPA. And Tulare County has put in a total of $50,000 so far towards this study. Temperance Flat would be great. It would hold back some more water. Millerton Lake being 500,000 acre feet. And Temperance Flat, if it was to be built, would be 1.5 million acre feet. So obviously you would have a lot of storage back behind there. The problem's going to be the environs are going to come in and say you can't dam the river up because it's a scenic river. So you're going to lose that opportunity. They've already taken the water. We can't pump out of the delta anymore. There'll be all kinds of lawsuits. Temperance Flat, I think, is sort of a fantasy, but I think all of us would love to see it happen.
Okay, thank you. And staying on water, we're going to keep going. We have a couple more minutes here. With the increasing attacks on farmers via water regulations such as the ILRP and SGMA, how will you help fight the state agencies to preserve the water? Mr. Salinas?
I was trying to figure out all those initials.
Me too.
But typically, we need to continue to fight the state water resource board to not regulate it so much with water and controlling, and actually, the farmers, when they have to put the meters into their wells, that's a tremendous cost. So we need to really work and find out how can we do the same thing with less money. So yes, we need to continue to fight the regulation as much as possible.
And the question is how? How will you fight?
Well, if we can organize within the state of California to get all the counties to basically oppose this regulation is how we can do it, because it's already passed. They're already requiring us to do certain things. The only way we're going to change it is that we all got to get together, all the counties in the state of California, to oppose some of these regulations. I understand the need for conserving water. I understand that we need to regulate it, but to what extent?
Okay.
That doesn't benefit us.
Thank you.
Stands for Irrigated Lands Plan. Anybody that has property where you have water coming onto your land, mainly surface water, and you do any irrigating with that, you cannot allow that water to leave your property, otherwise you're polluting something. That's the up and the down of it. And you have to join that if you have any commercial property, or if you have any acreage above 5 acres, you have to join that, pay the money to them, and for them to then tell you what forms and information and all the stuff you have to fill out continually for the government so that they can create databases. The other one is the groundwater situation. It's the same thing. They passed that law in 2014 with no meat and bones, knowing that it would take litigation after litigation after litigation to be able to fully flesh out that law controlling our water use. And on that one, let me give you connect the dots, folks. All of us that have gone to drip irrigation, so you can do micro irrigating, they will be able to come in and tell you which trees are going to die because you've got drip irrigation down the line there.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Kyler Crocker. So as a farmer and as someone who's worked with lots of different agricultural groups throughout the state of California, I think it's incredibly critical that we partner together and we work together. So working with California Citrus Mutual, California Cotton Growers Association, Nisei Farmers League, California Fresh Fruit Association, Farm Bureau, the list goes on and on. They're all fighting the same fight, and we've got to add our voice as a member of the Board of Supervisors. So that includes getting my fellow colleagues and friends, other supervisors in other counties. We're all facing this together, and we've got to make sure that we have a unified voice and that we're talking to Sacramento, we're beating down the doors so that they understand what type of impact this really has. And we've got to continue the fight and try and make sure that we have sensible regulations from this bill that's already passed, because that's really the issue. Currently, they're still in the planning stage as far as how to implement. So now's the time to make sure that we get good implementation, or at least the not so bad.
I'm John Elliott. I'm really looking at this as really a proactive opportunity here. And what we need to do is we need to go, as if we don't have enough to do as a supervisor, we need to spend some time in Sacramento with a lot of those people that right now are drafting these regulations and enforcement codes. We need to get in their face and tell them what really works. We're the food basket of the world, and we have to have some concessions in this to come back with something workable. We can't sit in Tulare County and wait for that to come down from Sacramento. We've got to be up there right now and be proactive and do a little lobbying, because that's what it's going to take and that's what's effective.
Another Angel Galvez. Another area that the county entrusts me in is in policy, research, and development. This is not about fighting. Fighting is not going to get us anywhere. This is about policy and understanding how to evaluate and research and be able to then communicate that to the stakeholders. The problem is that we have a lot of uneducated officials who are figuring out how to really understand research and development and policies, and they don't know how to even write them. That's the problem. You need somebody who understands policy and understands how to be able to construct mechanisms that are going to work. And if they don't know how to evaluate and make factual decisions, well, you're never going to have good decisions. That's what I do for a living with the agency, is we implement policies that are sound, that make sense, and that work. And these are proven. Go to Google, Angel Galvez, and you'll see a lot of that work that I've already done in Sacramento. Thank you.
I think everyone's pretty much saying the same things up here, which is very important. We all work together. Like they're saying, get the other county supervisors on board and get in the face of Sacramento. Sacramento, I don't think really understands the Central Valley very well. They say that they do, but I don't think they truly understand our situation here with agriculture and our need for water. So it's extremely important that we all work together with the other counties and with our Sacramento officials, our electeds, and make sure that we get some solutions.
Brian Keegan. Washington and Sacramento have no idea what's going on here. They're making decisions for the Central Valley when they don't even know any of the issues we're facing. We need to combine different counties, ag communities, produce companies, and let them know what's going on here. It's imperative that we're not letting Sacramento make decisions unless we're involved in the decision-making process. As your next supervisor, that's what I plan on doing.
Thank you. One more question. It's going to be a simple yes or no, because we're running very low on time at this time. And we'll start with Mr. Smith. A simple yes or no, maybe one sentence following. During his campaign, Tulare County Sheriff Boudreaux held a gun raffle as a fundraiser. Do you think that was appropriate?
Yes.
Thank you. Just go down the line with the microphone. That's Mr. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Angel Galvez, yes.
I'm not objecting to the gun, but I can tell you the raffle under California election law is totally illegal. I tried to talk to Heights Sierra Jazz Band, I was gonna raffle off a cruise. They told me I couldn't do it. No raffle for any candidate.
And so, no, because of that same reason. Raffles are not an allowable use. You have to have an allocation of every individual who gives money to your campaign, and you have to report it in a timely fashion. And this is something that we value in transparent government.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our audience participation. I'd like to make one remark that we are videotaping this, and it will be available on the Valley Voice website. If you want to tell your friends, it will be available in full.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to afford the candidates a minute and a half for closing statements. I don't believe that there is another forum coming up. We are a month away from the June primary, so I hope you take it this time to make yourselves more distinct from the field. We can begin with you next.
Folks, this isn't about working with people that don't know what they're doing. This is the article that Devin Nunes wrote for Investors Business Daily. And they told him in 2002 they were going to idle 1 million acres plus on the west side. And they told him in 2002 then they were going to go after the east side. They know what they're doing. It's time to fight. Sharpen your pitchforks. If you don't stand up to it and you roll over, shame on you. Shame on us. I've run my own business for 38 years. I'm tired of it. I can tell you how much you get billed for an OSHA inspector to come through and tag your air pressure tanks and your propane tank that you use for a nurse tank for your forklifts. It's expensive. I can tell you how much fees you have to pay to San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District because you make sawdust. That's a particulate matter in the air, even though we have a collection system and a dust collection after that. I'm tired. I'm ready to push back a little bit. That's what I want to do as a supervisor for Tulare County. I want to stand up for we the people and push back on some of this nonsense. They know what they are doing to us, and it's demonic.
Well, I ask for your support and vote come June 7th. Being your Board of Supervisor, I would make sure that we would have a healthy community and a prosperous community. With my 28 years of experience in land use planning, business development, housing, financing, mortgage lending, community and civic duties, I will hit the ground running once I'm elected to the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you for coming here this evening. It's great to see constituents who want to learn about the candidates so they can make an educated decision. Thank you so much. I think you all deserve applause for coming here this evening. I'm running for Board of Supervisors for one reason. I have a 2-year-old son. I love growing up here. I want to make sure he has the same experience that I had growing up here. That's the #1 reason why I'm running here. It's family friendly and a great place to raise your child. Listen, I will be your #1 advocate in the fight for water. I will make sure our farmers and residents get the water they need. I'll work with public safety departments to make sure everyone's safe. And I'm going to work as a fiscal conservative, and I'm going to work as hard as possible for you. By voting for me for your next supervisor, you'll get a supervisor with a long-term vision and plan to ensure the vitality of California. So when you go to vote, remember, vote Brian Kuchigan for your next District 1 supervisor. Thank you.
Again, thank you everyone for coming out this evening. I'm Ted McCauley, and I am very worthy of your vote come June. I've got 12 years of experience working on the Exeter City Council, working with the current Board of Supervisors on various committees. I understand how the county government works. I have that none of my colleagues here have that thorough knowledge that I do. I'm a community-oriented person. I'm taking the job so that I can represent my constituents the way that I represented my constituents when I ran on the Exeter City Council. And again, on June 7th, I would appreciate your vote because I am a trustworthy, experienced, and dependable candidate. Thank you.
Galvez. This is actually rather simple for me. I won't take too much time saying what I want to say. One of the things that I value the most in the work that I do is really just working with the people that I serve. I serve people from children all the way to elders. We serve everyone. And I've had a great building of relationships that has taught me a lot. And I've learned a lot. And I'm going to continue to learn. And I'm going to continue not to allow myself to take any money from special interest groups, because that is the key. It'll keep me fair. It'll keep me honest. It'll keep me doing what I'm doing to benefit the people. And that's what it's really about. You want to elect a politician, elect any of these guys. But if you want to elect a person, then your vote does matter. Make it count. Make it count for the people. The people that depend on you, that never have a voice because of politics. Politics get in the way and they constrict the last breath of these people who are suffering in our communities. That's what I'm for. I'm for them. People like Mr. Scott, and people like other supporters who are here who care about seeing somebody who's going to really voice their voice with me. So if you're for that, then I invite you to lead change with me together. Thank you.
John, this election really isn't about me. It's not about any of these gentlemen up here. It's about us. And I pledge to you that I will always be accessible and listen to your concerns first before I do anything. The challenge here is to make a pretty darn good place for everybody. And that's what my election to the office will be all about. In my career, I put myself out there 24/7 under the careful scrutiny of my constituents, whether they were my readers, friends, neighbors, or an applicant seeking approval at a planning commission. Look closely at my accomplishments and my body of work. I have always conducted my business with integrity and personal responsibility. In the past 30 years, my wife and I have traveled at our own expense to Sacramento and Washington, D.C. several times to seek out the stories that make all our lives more meaningful. In October, my wife accompanied Jim Barton, her dad, a World War II vet, back to D.C. on the honor flight. The ensuing first-hand and heart-wrenching coverage that we published in the Queer Commonwealth was one of the best accounts of the honor flight ever produced. Experiences like these have allowed me to have long-standing relationships with the people throughout Tulare County, in the Valley, Sacramento, and in Washington, D.C. These connections will open doors. Like the signs say, Elliot for Supervisor.
Kyler Crocker, fifth generation farmer. This morning I had the great privilege of attending the Tulare County Prayer Breakfast. Today is the National Day of Prayer for the United States, and General Boykin, who is a retired U.S. Army veteran, who was a part of the Delta Forces that was stationed in Iran and Grenada and Panama and other places that I'm sure he can't speak of, had a gut-wrenching story about how we really need each other to pray for each other, and how we need to, this country's going in the wrong direction. I think many of us see that. And the state's going in the wrong direction. And so I would encourage you all outside of this to pray for our military, pray for our country, pray for our state, and pray for our county. Outside of that, we've got three big issues that we're dealing with here in Tulare County. That's water, that's public safety, and it's jobs. And if we move high-speed rail money away from that towards surface water storage, not only will that give us additional water that'll help us thrive for years to come, but it'll also create lots of permanent jobs.
Thank you. And with that, before we go, we've actually done a really good job on time. It's before 8 o'clock, us. I'd really like to speak on behalf of Valley Boys, myself, and ex-Republican Women Federated for your guys' attendance, but I'd like to make a special notation that Robin Stearns is here, and Mayor of Exeter. She attended. And before we go, the Exeter Republican Women Federated wanted to make a special recognition for one of their members who put together quite a bit of what you see before us as far as boxes and the decoration. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Ms. Clark, who's holding the flowers.
My name is Paula Clark, and I'm the president of Exeter Women Federated, and we're grateful that we could just facilitate and obviously make the room look wonderful and bring some feminine charm to this event. And one of the primary parties responsible for that is our Vice President, Jessica White. We're gonna make you walk, bring it away. Jessica has worked tirelessly with the staff of both papers and Lori Hamilton as well too.
A expert decorator. She transformed the stage and all the setting into just a beautiful place. So
And we appreciate it.
Thank you.
And with that, let's give a big hand to the candidates for and we'll conclude the forum before 8 o'clock. Good job, guys.
You're good. You're good.